Hi, on the 30th of October we are going to have our first Labour budget, and of course a lot has been made about this in the press due to this 40 billion black hole that they need to fill. I think we're all a bit nervous, and I think we all know we're not going to get out of this unscathed, so I thought I'd just do a bit of a pre-budget briefing so you know what you're looking out for when all the information comes out on Wednesday the 30th. So the first thing that's going to impact us as employers is the employer's NI. So as it works at the moment, there is a allowance of £9,100, and then after that, every pound your employee earns, you pay a national insurance contribution of 13.8%. Now there's two possibilities here of what might change. They may look to reduce that personal allowance. The 9,100 has been in state for quite a while, so they might look to reduce that and automatically increase the amount of NI you're paying, but maybe at the same rate. More likely is the feeling that they will probably increase the rate from 13.8%. A few years ago, Rishi Sunak did suggest increasing it by 1.25%. And actually, if that were to be applied for most business owners, if you're turning over, say, about £500,000 a year, and as a nursery, your staffing costs are running nicely in the benchmarking figures of 55%, your current national employer's cost is around £33,000 a year. If that's increased by the 1.25%, then that is going to increase by about another £3,000. So you're going to be looking at an increase of about £250 a month on national insurance. Start thinking about it now, because it will have an impact. In likelihood, it might not kick in till April, but we won't know for sure until tomorrow. But it looks like that's the way it's going to go. The second thing we're likely to see tomorrow is a change to capital gains tax. So at the moment you get business asset disposal relief. This was previously known as entrepreneurs relief, which meant you pay 10% tax on the first £1 million of a sale, and then capital gains tax thereafter at 20%. There's some talk that they may remove business asset disposal relief entirely, which means you just pay capital gains from point one. However, the general feeling is that actually that may well stay, but what they'll do is instead look to increase capital gains tax from 20% to 30% post £1 million. So for those people who are looking to sell large assets, this means that, for example, on a £2 million sale, you'd be looking to pay an extra £100,000 in capital gains tax at the end of the transaction. Obviously a massive impact, and we won't know for sure until the budget is announced, but again, in likelihood this won't be introduced until April. So if you have a transaction going through now, it's worth thinking about whether you can get in before that date, because this will of course impact what you walk away with at the end. The final thing to look out for is tax changes for high earners. So currently, if you earn more than £100,000, for every £2 over the £100,000 you earn in addition, you lose £1 of your personal allowance. This means that actually by the time you get to £125,000, you have no personal allowance whatsoever, and you pay tax on everything. The likely change here is that they might look to move the metric as to where this high earning starts. So if they drop it down to 90,000, obviously that kicks in earlier, therefore gaining more tax. So it's not going to be a higher rate as such, but the likelihood is that they will change the metric as to what classifies as a high earner. This is not only going to impact obviously the tax you pay, but also for parents who are eligible for childcare at the moment in time, over £100,000, their eligibility drops, and obviously they don't have access to the childcare voucher scheme. If this metric changes, the chances are their eligibility is going to change as well. So just as we've kind of got to grips with the new funding and who's allowed what, the chances are is that anyone you've got at the moment who isn't eligible, that's going to change for them ever so slightly. So it's something to look out for, because it may mean that you now have parents who don't have as much eligibility as they used to have, and that may change obviously how the funding works within your setting. There's obviously going to be a lot more. There's going to be stuff about pensions, but we don't know a huge amount about that at the moment, so we are going to have to wait for it. If you have time to sit and watch the whole budget, well done you. Who's really got time for that? But if there are key points that will affect you in the future, I will pick these up in future videos, and we'll see what happens on Wednesday the 30th. Hope you found that useful. Speak to you again soon.